Today we are going to take a closer look at medieval music. The medieval period was from 450 to 1450. Visual arts at this time were more boxy and exact, and they often had religious or sacred themes, like you can see in this picture of the Last Supper with Jesus and his disciples. There were three types of music in the medieval era: sacred music, which was any music that was a part of the church; secular music, which was not a part of the church; and instrumental music. Now, the instruments of the medieval era were like the grandparents to the instruments we have today. They would use instruments like a harp or a viol, which is the predecessor to our orchestral strings like violin and cello. And they would also use something called a lute, which is very similar to our modern guitar. Those were all in the strings family, and then the percussion family hasn't changed that much since the medieval era. We still use drums and bells and cymbals just like they would. In the wind section, we have a flute, which is more like the modern-day recorder, and the bagpipes, which are very similar to what you would hear in Celtic music today. Let's take a closer look at the music of the church. And when I say church, I mean the Catholic Church, because at this time the Pope controlled all religion, and all of the religious music was written for Catholic masses or church services. The music written for the Catholic Church was vocal, meaning that it only used voices and no instruments. There were two different types of vocal music at this time. The first is called monophony, which means that there was only one melody being sung. There can be a couple different people singing along, but there is only one tune. The other type of vocal music at this time is called polyphony, which means that there was many voices singing two or more different melodies at the same time. You can remember the difference because mono means one and poly means many. One tune, many tunes at the same time. This vocal music was called chant. Chants had no instruments. They were a part of the Catholic Mass or church service, and they were notated, meaning written down, with something called neumes. Now, neumes are like a very early version of the music notation that we use every day. Not every example of neumes that we have uses lines like this to guide the shapes. Some of them are just shapes. And you can tell by looking at this that it's similar to the music that we are used to, but it also looks very different. And I know I would have a hard time knowing what to sing looking at that. That is all for our quick overview of medieval music. Thanks for listening.